Hello everyone. So today we will discuss about sciography of a 3D object, and since we have already discussed the sciography, through sciography we can derive shade and shadow using specific techniques. So in order to derive the shadow and shade we need a source of light, and in this case I have taken for instance a cuboid, or we can say as a rectangular prism, and it is actually lying on the surface, say a ground surface, and you have a light, sun as a source of light, and since according to the logic the sun is very far and it is the rays of light is interpreted as coming parallel to the surface. So let us consider each point or corners on the top part of the prism is being as a considered as an outline of the shadow when the light passes through it. So say a sun is passing through is this point. Now for the sun being as a source of light, we take any angle of the inclination of the source of the light. So there is nothing specific. It can be 45 degree, 60 degree, 30 degree, or as you wish, or it can be any odd numbers. So let me take one single parallel line. So this is the line of rays where the sun is passing through. Okay. Now similarly, we need to give a parallel lines that is passing through each corner. So for this point, again for this point, again for this point. So we got the lines that is passing through this edge or corner of the prism. Okay. So now for this we need a hidden line that is behind the prism. Okay. Now since I already told you that this is already lying on the ground plane, and we need to assume something a plane as a ground surface where the light needs to stop at the ground level. So for that case also you have a liberty to choose any angular path of a surface. So let me take as a manipulation. I will take this line as a parallel. This one line I just drew it as per my assumption. Similarly, for all the bottom part of the prism, okay, that has to be passed with a line as a ground line of the prism. Is clear now? So now we need to locate the point where the sun rays from the top part of the prism is passing through and touching to the ground line, and the edge of the base of the prism where the you can consider it as a line of intersection where the rays will meet at the ground level. So in this sense, you see, let me name of this point A, B, C, D, and P, Q, R, S. Okay. Now for A and P, we have two intersecting line meeting at the point, say AP. Similarly, we have a line passing through D and it is touching at the ground line through S. We have DS. Okay. Again for C and R. So this point here you can see very well see that it is already not visible. This outline cannot be visible on the surface. So you need to ignore this part. Now coming to the B. For B, the sun rays is coming through here and touching the ground line. through Q. So BQ. Okay. So now we need to join the lines to find the part of the outline where we can shade as a shadow. Okay. So since we can see this is the outer edge of the prism. Okay. Now when while we see from as a realistic point of view, we can see the line is passing from Q on the ground level till BQ. So this is the line that is actually coming out of the as a shadow. Now we need to see again which line is again related to each other through in a single line. So here we see BA as a single line. So we need to first connect BA here. So in that case, we already have the line QP as the one line. Okay. So similarly, for the case of AD, we can join AD. So PS is also coming over here in the similar manner. So now here we have DC. Okay. So here we have a DCR. Now when we connect CD to R, we do not have any uh, you know line that will connect to it. So since as the rays is coming through the uh, each point at the corner, and this is the ground line, and since it is starting from the ground line, so this has to be first connected to from S to DS. Okay, so this edge will be acting as the obstruction of the light, and which creates a shadow of this DS. So that is the portion where we need to shade it as a shadow. So I hope you understood the basic concept of deriving the shadow from an isometric, a simple object of isometric object. Now, in order to get the shade, this is the shadow, and in order to get the shade, we have to check out the foremost point of the edge of the corner where the sun is passing. So here we have a line rays passing in this manner. So you have to, so this portion is being regarded as a shade, and for this it's very logical. There's nothing to explain about it. So this whole phase is behind the light, so this will ultimately act as a shadow. Is it clear now? Okay. Now when this is just a simple object, now when we go for a complicated object, for example, we have a question like a prism over a cylinder. Let me just draw a very small example of it. Now we have a cylinder. And just draw it properly, and also draw the hidden lines. and the cylinder area or isometric of the cylinder is circular base. Is clear now? Okay. Yes. So let us consider this as an example. Now, in this case, we have a you need to be very careful about the number of lines that will be derived while doing the sciography of such kind of combination of the solids. Now, next step is better to name them so that to avoid any confusion. Okay, okay. Now it is you are now. I hope you are very confident about deriving the geography of this object. But now when it since this is actually lying on the surface, so you are able to derive the shadow exactly at the bottom part of the prism and it goes to the on the ground plane. Now when the prism is actually floating above of a certain height, you need the base of this prism also in order to derive its ground plane where you can derive the shadow of this prism because you cannot follow this method over here unless this is actually regarded to be having a ground plane underneath. So what you can do is the trick is to drop projection line to the ground level. Now how do you find the ground level? That is the major question. While doing the isometric of this cylinder, you might have derived a box of it. Okay. Now, as per the question, we have a certain question like this cylinder distance of the cylinder is to some extent the prism is larger than the cylinder. The base of the prism is larger than the cylinder. So similarly, for this case also, you check out this distance. Similarly, for this also, you need to check out the distance of it. So once you find the distance, then drop that point on the top. Okay. So ultimately, you will find the distance over here. Now, using your sketch set square, you can draw the parallel lines. Okay. Now, once you found out one line, you can find out the rest of the line accordingly. It will come over here. Again, it will come over here. It will come over here. Okay. So we have an imaginary ground base that is projected from the elevated prism to the ground level. Okay. Now at this level you can continue with the same process over here. So I will explain you how to consider the light source. So let us take again we can assume any direction of the sun rays. So if I take it like this, then the chances are that this much area will be covered for the shadow. If I take the rays like this, then you can imagine the area being, this is the waste of space. So it's better you consider the smaller part. So, so this is somehow regarded as the sun is little bit upward. So somewhere it is somewhere here. So we have a sun rays passing through here. Okay. Now for the sun rays, we know it has to be parallel, or the lines has to be parallel. Now for the top part, A, B, C, D, we just draw the parallel line. Is clear? Now, okay, for B also. Okay. Okay. Now since you already reproduced the line as a rays of the sun, and for the top part, so now this point is also the point for P, Q, R, S, as well as A, B, C, D. These 4 points are now the projection of this, all these 6 points, 8 points. Okay. Now it's better you project this parallel line through all the points to avoid the changing of the angles of in the set square. Q, then we have for S. So you can see the number of lines that we are getting here. So it's best you need to be very focused, concentrated, so that can avoid as many mistakes as you can. Now we need to now derive the shadow of this prism. Okay, so this is the ground level of the prism. So in the similar way, how I derived here the ground plane lines, ground lines. Similarly, you can also derive from here also. So so it's up to us. We can consider the line going in this way or in this way, or however I wish to. So in my opinion, since I can see something, the angle is very much tilted here to incline. So I can manipulate very easily that the area of the shadow will be around here, which will be much easier for us to derive the ground line in this manner. So let me change the color of this to avoid any confusion. Is it clear? Okay. So all the 4 points are now have been produced as a ground lines. Okay. Now what I see is very complicated. So I should have changed the angle of this. It's better you take in this manner. Okay, let us continue. So at least understand the concept first. So here I see uh, for this point it will reach go on at almost coming out of the page, but let us consider it is meeting over here, somewhere here. Okay, so now here just the way we consider this line CR we found the line from the R, it's passing through here, but here we have it is coming out of the drawing. So if you could have taken the line, parallel lines in this manner, then you might have saved some space like this. Okay, so if I continue through this, so let us avoid this part. So I'm really sorry for the inconvenience. Now these are the ground lines, okay, and these are the sun rays. So please avoid this line now. So now let us uh, find the points where they are meeting the lines of intersection of the rays and the ground line. So for AP, we have a point here and the line over coming over here. So this line are meeting over here. So now let me mark it. Okay. So similarly for DS, the line is passing through over here. Okay, and the S is over here and it is passing over here. So DS is over here. Okay. Similarly for CR, here we have this point, okay, as a projection, and the CR from C it is coming over here and meeting here, while for R it is coming over here, again it is meeting the same line. Okay, so now for BQ again, for B it is the line is over here and the ground line is over here. So for BQ, for Q it will be here, and B dash, Q dash, this is A dash. Okay, now B dash, because B is over here, so B dash. Okay, similarly we have D dash, and S dash, B, and C dash. This is C dash. We have R dash. So you can very clearly see how many points and lines are being arranged in this manner. So, so now we have to find the point for the cylindrical part. So since in the class we already explained that everything has to be considered with the tangent of the circular part. So this is the tangent. Okay, now as we can see that I have already drawn the lines over here, or let as since it's a Q from the Q, but if you have while you draft, if you find it is parting away from the Q, then it may go over here. Okay, now similarly for this case also you have to draw the parallel lines passing through over here. Okay, so now let us name the point 1. So 1 meeting over here, 1 dash. Okay, now similarly for 2, and we have a projection again for the point to come over here to task. Clear now?